All right, so today we're going to do a deep dive into something pretty heavy, actually. Letting go. Why it's so hard to let go of past hardships. Everyone's been there.
Absolutely.
Right. Like, some of them are small, some are huge, life-altering events, but we're going to try to get into the nitty-gritty of it. We've got some really fascinating research here, and I think it's going to be eye-opening for a lot of people. Like, did you know that our brains are actually hardwired to remember negative events more strongly than positive ones?
It's called the negativity bias.
Yeah, negativity bias. It's crazy, right?
It really is. And, when you think about it from an evolutionary perspective, it makes sense. Back in the day, like way back, caveman days,
Right.
remembering where that saber-toothed tiger was lurking, that was way more important for survival than, say, remembering a tasty berry patch.
So basically, like, our brains are still kind of stuck in that fight or flight mode, even though most of us aren't running from tigers anymore.
Exactly. It's this ancient alarm system that hasn't quite caught up with modern life.
Right, right. But that doesn't really help us when we're, like, dwelling on a mistake at work or, replaying that awkward conversation from last week over and over.
Exactly. So knowing about the negativity bias is a great first step, but we need tools to actually, deal with it. One thing that can really help is actively focusing on positive memories.
Like making a conscious effort.
Yeah, write them down in a journal, talk about them with friends.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It's like you're training your brain to give those good memories equal weight.
So basically rewiring those neural pathways.
Exactly.
I like that, taking control instead of letting the negativity bias, call the shots. It reminds me of Sarah's story. She wrote in saying she can still remember falling off her bike when she was like 8 years old, but she can barely remember any details from her honeymoon last year.
It's like our brains are Velcro for the bad and Teflon for the good.
Ugh, it's so true, though.
But that negativity bias, it can even seep into how we see ourselves. Like, John, who's a cancer survivor. He's been in remission for like 10 years, but he still introduces himself as a cancer survivor first and foremost.
It's like that experience, as difficult as it was, has become a part of his identity.
Right. And in some ways, it can be empowering, right? It shows strength, resilience.
But is there a point where it becomes, I don't know, unhealthy?
That's a great question. And I think it's different for everyone. Sometimes holding on to those labels can keep us stuck in the past, prevent us from moving forward.
So it's about finding a balance, right? Acknowledging those experiences, but not letting them define us entirely.
Exactly. And sometimes, it's not about a label or an identity. It's just that we can't seem to shake off a past hurt.
Like Maria, who wrote in about this argument she had with her sister. Months ago, it's over, but she's still replaying it in her head constantly. Can't let go of the anger.
That brings up the issue of unresolved emotions. And, sometimes we need to actively process those emotions to really, truly move on.
But how do we do that?
Well, the first step is acknowledging and naming those emotions. Don't judge yourself for feeling them. Like if you're feeling angry, say, okay, I'm feeling angry. And then maybe try to understand why.
So don't bottle it up.
No. And journaling can help. Talking to a therapist.
Yeah, having that safe space to, like, actually let it out.
Exactly.
I think sometimes, we hold on to those past experiences because we think if we keep thinking about them, we can somehow prevent them from happening again.
That's actually a really common response to trauma.
Yeah.
Take Tom, for example. He was in a really bad car accident a few years ago. Now he's hypervigilant when he drives.
He's checking his mirrors, yeah.
Exactly. He's constantly on edge, afraid of another accident, and it's exhausting for him.
It's like his way of trying to control the uncontrollable.
Right. And on the other hand, you have Lisa. She made a mistake at work a while back, and she just can't stop replaying it in her head.
Oh, yeah, the rumination thing.
Exactly. So you see, we have Tom, who's terrified of the future.
And Lisa, who's stuck in the past.
And both of them are struggling to let go.
And sometimes it's not just an individual thing either, right? Like, whole communities can get stuck in the past.
You're absolutely right. Think of a town that had a major factory shutdown, maybe decades ago. That event can cast a long shadow. It can shape conversations, local politics, even how young people see their futures.
So the weight of that past event becomes like a shared burden.
Exactly.
And, I think it's important to acknowledge that sometimes those past hardships, especially trauma, They can actually leave a physical mark on us.
Right, this is where neurology comes in. Trauma can actually change the structure of the brain, particularly areas that deal with stress and emotion.
It's not just an abstract feeling, it's like a physical change.
Right.
It reminds me of Mike, who wrote to us about his experiences after serving in combat. He has a really hard time with loud noises now. Fireworks, even just a car backfiring, it sends him right back.
That's because the trauma actually changed his brain's fear center, the amygdala.
And sometimes holding on to the past is about more than just the event itself. It's about seeking justice, validation.
Right. Like Karen, who wrote in about being unfairly fired from her job. She's been fighting to clear her name to get someone to admit they were wrong.
She needs that acknowledgement to be able to move on.
And that's totally understandable. Sometimes letting go requires that external validation.
And a sense of closure.
Exactly.
So we've talked about like brain wiring, identity, unresolved emotions, fear, rumination, social influences, physical changes, and the need for justice. Is there anything else? Is that everything? What else makes letting go so hard?
Well, we can't forget about avoidance. Sometimes the pain of confronting a past trauma is so intense that we just avoid it altogether. We push it down, try not to think about it.
Like Peter, who just completely shuts down whenever anyone mentions his parents' divorce. He's trying to protect himself, but it's not really helping him heal.
Right. Avoidance is a natural coping mechanism, but eventually, we have to face those difficult emotions to truly move forward.
So the takeaway here is that there are so many reasons why letting go is hard. And it's not about just telling ourselves to get over it.
Exactly.
There are real underlying reasons, and understanding those reasons is the first step to finding healthier ways to cope.
I completely agree.
So to everyone listening, we want to leave you with this. What hardship are you holding on to? And what might help you begin to let it go? Maybe think back to some of the things we've talked about today. And until next time, keep exploring. Keep asking those tough questions.
Absolutely.
See you later.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.